All right. And live.
Okay, and I'm going to turn it on just in case we get some chatters with us after it comes up. Okay. Well, Christopher, we are here today. We are going to talk a little bit about Ivan Provorov. So I'm going to keep the background very simply on this topic. NHL had, or specifically the Flyers had a Pride night. Ivan Provorov would not wear the jersey for the pregame warm-ups, stayed in the locker room.
That he did, citing religious values from the Russian Orthodox Church. We don't typically dive into these discussions on here, obviously.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to start off giving a warning. If you are somebody who gets offended easily, this might not be the video for you. Keeping in mind, our videos often offend people. So if this one is coming with a warning, because we's about to burn some bitches.
Indeed. I'm sure you've seen the statements that was made by Provorov and Tortorella and all that stuff. And
well, Provorov's statements are basically non-statements. He came out and said, "This is what it is. Let's talk about hockey." Tortorella talked a lot more about it. He had previous issues with the protests of the national anthem and like throwing a tantrum over that before, and says he's come a long way. His views on it haven't changed, but how he approaches it has changed substantially.
And I think that's where this boils down to me, is the approach that's taken ultimately. Because obviously, I would probably prefer Provorov join in the festivities, if you will. But in that same token, I'm on the boat of that this is right not to, even if I disagree with him. And he didn't make it a big deal. He said, "Hey, that's not what I don't want to do."
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so with this being an issue right now, where does that blame fall on?
I don't know. I'm at a loss with this one, or maybe I'm curious where you're seeing, because I've been struggling with this for a few days.
Well, one, I got a lot of people to blame.
Maybe that's where I'm at. It's actually a lot of people.
Yeah, Ivan Provorov. He's got to take some of it, obviously. But I'm probably a little bit lighter on him. I'm going to give him about 20% of the blame.
Fair.
I am going to give the NHL, I'll give them about 10% or so, and then about 70% on reporters.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So does that mean if I am giving 70% of the blame to the reporters that I don't think this is a big deal? Well, that's a fucking big deal. Like Ivan Provorov, he's not a fucking child.
Yeah. It's a yeah.
So
I've seen
for him to do what he did, we're going to judge that and say, fuck you. How he did it, good. That's the way you should do it if you're going to do something like that.
Yeah. I have that's that. And I'll let you continue in a bit. That's been kind of my stance with this. Is I don't have a problem with the way he went about. He said he's like, hey, I don't really care what they do or their choices, even if it's not really a choice. But that's getting into slight semantics a little bit. That's not irrelevant. He didn't make it a big deal. We could disagree with him, and that's 100% okay. But the amount that this is blown up because of some absolutely ridiculous takes is where I'm starting to have the problem.
So let's go with a reporting viewpoint. Let's say we are the reporters on here. Is it our duty to go in and get a story? Is it our duty to go in and try to make a story out of this?
I understand why. To answer your question, I think to get a story, yes, as a reporter, you have to get a story. To make a story, I think that's a little bit different. I think that's a no. I think to and this is a problem with journalism kind of nowadays is there's a lot of hype, if you will, or sensationalism in journalism, and things get blown out of proportion, taken out of context, or something along those lines. And yeah, you can report that, hey, he didn't do this, but now we've gone into a different stratosphere.
Yeah. So I don't think that they manufactured a story. I think they reported the story on here. But the problem with reporting this story is how many guys were out there with the jerseys on showing support for this?
Every other one of them.
Every one of them. The NHL has been making pushes for more inclusion. Whether or not they're doing enough is a topic for a different video. But some effort, at least a minimum of some recognizable effort is there. And that's all getting ignored. All the good that's coming from it is getting ignored. There are a couple players who stayed after the game. They were meeting with members of that community after the game. None of that is focused on. It's all gone. It's all for basically nothing, so we can focus on the negative. And what are we doing here at the Lunchroom Syndicate? We're focusing on the negative.
Yeah.
It's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's should it be reported on then?
No.
Maybe not, and especially maybe not for the timing. Like, I think it's different if we allow this good to have its moment.
Mm-hmm.
It has a stage, allow it to shine on the stage, and then 3 months from now we go back and we look and say, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I think that puts a different spin and focus on things as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's you're 100% right with that. We didn't allow the positives of this, and there was a lot of them. I mean, there was a donation, a relatively small amount, but I'm not going to judge that. Donation made by the Flyers to the Goal organization, which I don't know exactly what they are, but I know that deals with that community. And, the jerseys, and then probably, they're auctioning them off, I think. I don't want to talk too much as if I know, because there were certain things that I didn't check out exactly what was going on. But no, we as a society, and that's the problem with society right now, is we want to focus on the negative so much. That's just what we are. And we refuse to look at the good. And I think it's a microcosm to what the problems in general are, but that's going off on a bit of a tangent. But I get it. I get it. That this, if you talk about the good, you're probably not going to get the views or clicks compared to talking about the negative, right?
Okay, so let's then switch a little bit here. Should Ivan Provorov been forced to go out on the ice in that jersey?
No.
You don't think so?
No. I think if he doesn't want to, it's ultimately a free country. I could disagree with him, and I do, but I don't think if he chose not to, no, absolutely not.
Okay, because there's the viewpoint of, if you're going to play in the NHL, this is what the NHL is. This is what the NHL represents. And if you're going to take on and be a part of that, like you have to join in. Like this is part of something that you agreed to take up.
That's also true.
Now, I know when you're going through and you're growing up and you're like, hey, I want to play professional hockey, you don't sit here and go, and in part of that, I think it'd be great if I can take up very specific causes that I'm not even aware of at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's ultimately that's not what he signed up for, but it's part of the package deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree. Forcing somebody to do it, no. But that then means it's more of a choice for him. And fuck you.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. Ultimately, is you have that right to not do it, but I'm going to say fuck you, right? I don't have to agree with your choice. You're right, it's a choice. I could still say fuck you, like you're a piece of shit. That's also my right as a human being, and that's where that's ultimately with him. That's ultimately where I stand with him. I don't think he should be fined. I don't think he should be suspended or traded or contract, any of that nonsense that I've heard. I ultimately just think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, and I agree. No fine, nothing like that. That's what freedom of speech is. However, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence. If you now have your brand, the Ivan Provorov brand, is tarnished by this. And if this costs you endorsement deals, if this costs you teams not wanting to sign you to a contract, if this costs you fans, if this gets you backlash, that's fucking part of it, man.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the reality of what you have to say. Plus, he's, the First Amendment. Let's talk about that a little bit. What is the First Amendment ultimately with freedom of speech? It's freedom of speech for the government. Like you can talk shit about the government, basically. They can't do anything about it. Like that's really what it is. I mean, there's more to it than that if you want to say that, but that's basically what the text reads: freedom of speech. You can say what you want, and not be prosecuted for it. You can sit here and say the government's a piece of shit. You can sit here and say Trump's an asshole. You can say Biden's a piece of shit. You can say Lauren Boebert doesn't deserve to be in Congress because she's an airhead. Whatever. I can say all that stuff. Right? And they can't do shit about it, in theory. But however, if that means that someone watches this video later on and decides, I don't know why I just didn't do the reaction back. I high-fived the camera. But if ultimately that means a brand, let's say the Ultra Syndicate's a good big guy brand, it's like, oh, I don't really like what you said there. We're not gonna sponsor you. I'd be like, okay. That's the consequence. And that's where people are lost with the freedom of speech.
Well, then the flip side of that is, getting into cancel culture and, oh, I don't like that and we have to cancel it. And I do think everybody is way too oversensitive about shit and you get in a fucking uproar. But when Ivan Provorov, if he did this back in 1976, and it's coming up today going, oh man, we have to chastise this guy. Like, that's a time gap and a cultural shift that you can't hold people to the same standards. No. So I think a lot of the front runners here of cancel culture are going to be in a shock in 20 years when they're like, oh, I didn't know that I couldn't say that. Yeah, because you could today. You can today. There's just different cultural shifts. So while I'm not a fan of everything that we've gotten into here with cancel culture, I am a staunch believer in, yeah, you can say what the fuck you want, but I'm allowed to respond how I want.
Freedom of speech is not a one-way street. Sorry, it's not. That's not how things work. It's just like freedom of religion is not a Christian-only thing or Muslim-only thing or atheist-only thing.
Freedom of religion. Wait a minute. Did you just bring up religion?
Unfortunately.
Could that somehow tie into what we're talking about today?
I mean, yeah. I mean, first of all, that's the reason why Provorov didn't join in anyway.
Wow. I didn't realize. When are we going to have this cultural shift where we get away from that fucking jackass mythology? When are we going to stop saying, oh, well, I don't believe in human rights because my religion allows me not to? Fuck you, fuck your religion. And that applies to every one of them. I'm not picking on Russian Orthodox. Every fucking one of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there will be a day that religion is viewed upon as the Greek mythology, or Roman mythology, or Egyptian mythology, or Norse mythology is looked upon, where we all go, how did people believe in that shit? But there was a time where people did. And I don't know when that day is going to be. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a long, long time, well past our lifetimes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But, that is... But we've made strides to some extent. But we've seen now what those strides have created, which is a monster on the religious right. And, and that's like... And that... Yeah, it's fucking horseshit.
I mean, we go through... I'm going to pick on Christianity a lot because it's one of my favorite things to do.
Indeed.
The Bible promotes, it sells, it celebrates, it teaches you how to properly own a slave.
Huh, that's interesting.
But, we're far enough removed from the days of slavery now where we look back and go, well, that's just a misinterpretation of the Bible. Fuck you. Obviously, slavery is a bad fucking thing.
Yeah.
I can't believe that needs to be said. But it's in the Bible because the Bible is not this fucking ultimate truth of morality. It's not. It's a very immoral, shitty book. So we have gone through and we're now cherry picking things that we want to say, well, this is true. This is true. Oh, well, that's not true. You're just misinterpreting. This is true. Nope, not this part. Not this part. We're going to shove away this part. Why are you picking slavery to do that with? But not homosexuality in your doctrines.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ivan Provorov, again, he mentioned that, I'm not judging people based off their choices. And you said semantics, and maybe it could be a language barrier thing as well. That's a possibility. But nonetheless, let's take it as choice. It's not.
No, and when I said semantics, I meant semantics at that point of the conversation. Like, that wasn't the important part at that point. Now it becomes the important part as we get farther along. Because I knew we were going to get into it. I didn't want to get into it at that moment. I probably said the wrong term.
No, I understand what you were saying. I'm just getting to that point now.
Yeah. But no, I mean, first of all, it's been pretty much determined that homosexuality is not a choice. It's who you are. I mean, if you're like, oh, I could go back and forth, well, then you're bi. Yeah, you're bisexual. That's what you are, and that's okay.
Most things in life are on a spectrum.
Yeah.
It just says this isn't any different.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, you don't choose. Nobody's waking up in the morning going, you know what? I feel like getting bullied. I feel like getting judged. I feel like getting thrown out of different communities that I've been a part of in my life. I'm going to do all that. You know what? I really want some dick right now. Maybe not late. I'm choosing to have some dick.
Right.
Like, it's not a thing.
No.
So then let's go through and let's put this onto something else and say they had these jerseys out there and they're supporting Hispanics.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go with a completely made up name. Let's not throw Ivan Provorov in here with this. Let's go with a made up name. Let's go with, just off the top of my head, Gary Bettman.
That sounds like a fake name.
Yeah. Gary Bettman doesn't like Hispanics because of his religion. So they're having this night. And now he comes out and he says, no, I don't want to go out there because I don't like Hispanics. My religion says it's okay not to like Hispanics. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And for you not to, and if you're out there and you're not having the same kind of reaction to the two, Ivan Provorov and our fictional Gary Bettman, if you're not having the same reaction, what the fuck?
Yeah, 100% agreed. Again, Gary Bettman, this fake one, would be able to say that, but again, my thought process would be, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You're a horrible fucking
You're
person.
allowed to say it. We're not going to throw you in jail. But you know what? Maybe you don't keep your job because we don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah.
The Flyers, they're not going to do anything to Ivan Provorov. It's completely within their rights to not want to be associated with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not going to. Tortorella coming out and defending him, I both like and dislike. I like that he's coming out and he's sticking up for his players. I'm curious if this were to happen. To Toronto, would Tortorella come out in defense of a player in Toronto who did this, or is he doing it because it's his player?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say almost assuredly it's because it's his player. But...
Well, nobody's going to come. He wouldn't come out and say, but is he having that same mentality in his own private life?
Right. Yeah, that's only he can answer that. I mean, we could definitely have our thoughts and opinions on that.
Yeah, we could, but again, they're all guesses.
Yeah, they're not.
And I don't want to play that game.
No, because that creates a whole. Yeah, that's part of the problem. Ultimately,
yeah,
part of that we're running into that same issue.
But it's a strange, like, I talked earlier about Tortorella coming to this new mindset because, he was so against protesting not against the national anthem, but protesting for Black Lives Matter.
During the national anthem.
And now he's protesting for his religion. So yes, I was against protesting before, but now I'm fine with it. Is the issue protesting here?
No. It's never been about protesting.
Well, no, for a lot of people it is. But but there are also a lot of people who are having this are very much protest, depending on what you're protesting.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. It's the picking and choose. It's hypocrisy ultimately. It's I don't like that, so no, you can't protest against that. Oh, I'm with you, and you're for it, and it's like, no, that's not how it works. Again, I have said, like, I agree obviously completely with Colin Kaepernick and what he did, why he did it. I'm okay with what Provorov did. I can still think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But people can think Kaepernick's a piece of shit for doing what he did. They're in the wrong, in my opinion.
Yes, but if Provorov wants to go out and say, hey, gays are a problem. I'm Ivan Provorov. Gays are a problem. I'm going to start a group here with the Russian Orthodox Church and the NHL, and we are going to protest drinking from straws at every game.
Yeah.
And he wants to do, fine, protest away. But I'm going to think you're a piece of shit, and I'm going to call you out for it.
Yeah. 100%. I don't know if that's where we were going with that initially, but I did take it there. But
what, let's take that to a further extent. What is something that you would consider sacred? You personally.
My cats. I mean, I don't know how to answer that because I don't view things necessarily in that context. But yeah, I'll go cats.
So your cats, and now I'm not going to get into they're going to protest by murdering your cats. It's sacred for somebody to come in and pet your cats every time they come in your house. Now, Ivan Provorov wants to come in because of I don't believe in gay rights, and say I'm going to protest by not petting your cat when I come into your apartment. So many people are focusing on the, oh my God, he's not petting Christopher's cat. Like the Black Lives Matter. They're focusing on, oh, you're disgracing our flag. No, that is not the point. You're skipping over the point. So when we're like, I'm okay with how Ivan Provorov did this, which again, I stated very clearly at the beginning. So I don't know what that says about me because I'm about to destroy myself. You can't focus on, oh, well, this is, I like how he did it, or I don't like how he did it. What's the message that he's protesting?
He's protesting the LGBT community, basically.
Regardless of how he does it, the focus needs to be on there.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And, you know, and like we said, ultimately, he's allowed to do that. We're allowed to have our thoughts. And it's like, we realize, yeah, I agree. Although I will just state, with the national anthem thing, realistically, the problem wasn't that they were kneeling during the national anthem. That wasn't the problem. We all know what the problem really was. But
yeah, but you can hide that behind something that makes you seem like you're doing something good.
Yeah, and they're really good at doing that. But I actually, yeah, and it's I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's and I'm not surprised. I mean, you look at the Russian culture with what the not surprised that he would have some of those views, especially being a lot more conservative than a Western nation typically is.
And I don't like those terms either. Conservative. I'm conservative.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, fuck you, man. That's not conservative. That's you being a piece of shit.
Yeah. I'm
I don't want to
be. Ease,
When it comes to these issues, you're not conservative or liberal. You're either being a human or you're being a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Be a fucking human here.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what kills me with this sometimes, with the way people treat the LGBT community. It's like, what the fuck does it matter to you? Why are you so against it? I mean, they'll come up with things, but if two people want to be dating or married, and they're two dudes or two chicks or a dude and a chick, what the fuck do you care?
Do you want an answer to that? I'll tell you why.
Well, because they like control, and it's not what they are.
No. I'll tell you why you should care. Not why people do. I'll tell you why people should care.
Okay.
Because these are people in your family. These are friends. These are community members. These are people that you share space with. These are people that you should want to live happy, healthy, productive lives. Yeah. These are human beings that deserve to be treated like human beings. That's why you should care.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
I
guess
know I did a 180, and that's not what you were getting at, but it's a different point, and I thought that'd
no,
be
but
a nice way to make it.
it's a point that needs to be made, though. Ultimately, obviously, at what you just said is 100% correct. Obviously, my point wasn't that it doesn't matter to me in the sense of like, oh, this this guy dates another guy. Okay, cool. I'm happy for him. That's where I'm at with that. If they're happy, they want to do it. Go for it.
Yeah,
I'll be friends with. It doesn't bother me. I guess is more the point.
yeah. There's no negatives. Tell me the negative aspects of it. And all the negative aspects are going to be, oh, black people like fried chicken. Like, you're not going to tell me negative aspects that aren't homophobic bullshit.
Yeah. And that's what it boils down to is ultimately their problem with it is they believe in this religion that seemingly allows them to hate, and they feel the need to hate because they're different than them. And humanity as a whole, throughout its entire history, if there's one thing it's been great at, it's hating others for being different.
So I think I'm done with this. Let's just close with one more thing here because I'm making, and I mean, I feel very strongly about this topic.
Same.
Something that I'm very well known for is I hate people. I hate them.
They suck.
But I'm also going to be the one who, well, not the one, a one. I want to be
Right.
a one. I want to be part of a community that sticks up for members of communities that are overlooked, marginalized, put down for no reason. And instead, we're putting up parts of the community because they believe a man in the sky sacrificed himself to himself for a weekend, and that man in the sky conveyed messages to bushes and snakes, lived in tunas, and then wrote a book, and we're all supposed to be like, oh, okay, and believe the shit. Like, you need to start putting down that community and start building up the people that you share space with, and not some ridiculous idea. Support the people, not ridiculous ideas, is what I'm getting at. Final thought for me.
100%. I guess my final thought would be, I don't care if you're religious. Ultimately, I don't care if you're atheist religious, but I do care when you hate people just because you want to hate them. I do care that you're gonna put down people when, not you, Jay. Obviously, I'm talking about the collective. You.
Yeah.
I do probably do that, but just for maybe if people are viewing this and they're confused. You're going to put down people, like you said, because of a religion. I mean, look, we deal with Christianity here predominantly, but I mean, we could destroy the Muslim religion easily with some of the shit that goes on in the Middle East. That's worse than what we got here. But you know, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it's the fact of the matter is a lot of the negative of this world seems to have a common root to the problem, right? And that's how we view our religion, and that's so ironic to me with religion, because you know it's supposed to be like, oh, you're supposed to love each other, and thou shalt not hate, or thou shalt kill. It's like it's fucking one of their 10 commandments, and it's like they kill in the name of God, which is like the most hypocritical fucking thing.
That's a pillar of basically every religion, and all ignore it.
Yeah,
every one of them ignores it.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with, you know, in loving each other, with accepting each other as they are when it comes to that kind of stuff. And you know, there are definitely things on the liberal side that I am not for and against, but when it comes to the LGBT community, nah, like, stop being pieces of shit, people. Let them be them. It doesn't. Just stop. Love them. They're a part of your community, like you said. They're part. You can. You don't. If you're not gay, you're not gay. It's okay. It's okay to not be gay. It's okay to be gay. Fuck off, any of you haters. That was a bad final word, but that's what I'm gonna go with.
All right, and that was their final thought there from Christopher as well. So much more of a ranting video than what we normally do, but it just fucking sticks in my craw. It's something that's been bothering me for well, since this happened, and normally this is a conversation Christopher and I have anyway. We're like, yeah, let's throw it up on the internet. What's the harm in throwing it up on the internet? We'll find out. But please come back and join us for a happier video.
Well, as long as you're not anti-LGBTQ. We don't want you guys. Everyone else, though.
You know what? You can come in too, so I can insult you personally. I have found that, like, when I'm out driving, I have had a couple people, shitty drivers, and then they'll like follow me and come to me and like, hey, we just wanted to give you the chance to yell at us in person. And I'm like, thank you for that. You can do that here too. If you are not part of the LGBTQ community, if you're somebody who's against that, you're more than welcome here too, because I'd love to yell at you in person.
Fair enough.
But again, thank you for joining us for this video, and until next time.